Hello, folks. This is Ben Gessel. This video might be a little bit longer tonight, um, but so I'm going to talk a little bit about just I don't know if I mentioned any of this particular train of thought before, but I just as a hobby, this is more of a semi-serious hobby. Well, it's a hobby. This it has nothing I've done in so far as turned into the actual video game or anything like that. Um, but I do a lot of brainstorming, and whether it turns into a story or whether it turns into a video game or something else, it's something I thoroughly enjoy, and I love it. Um, so I don't always. I want to show you some of some of the. There's a lot of different ways that I guess you can go about brainstorming ideas for video game, and a lot of different ways. Of course, there's the programming end, which is the real work, right? But in terms of the ideas and that sort of thing, there's a lot of different approaches. A lot of times it's a visual thing. Well, it should be at some point, but I don't always draw out ideas like this. But um, this is like, for instance, I don't know if you can see all this text, but this is um, one of the ways that I might write out a lot of ideas. And this is all for just one area of a video game, or one small geographical area, or like a walkable area. Um, Baldur's Gate, the original Baldur's Gate, has been kind of a template for me, or at least my favorite game I've ever played. It's a fantasy game. Maybe Wheel of Time is a number two to that. But I think I have listed my top 10 favorite video games already. But I very much do like the idea of going from area to area. Sometimes some areas can be right next to each other, actually geographically. So you can go right. So they kind of, you can actually have like secret tunnels or things going from one place to another. You can do that, but I like the idea of areas that are spaced out somewhat. So lots of areas you don't have to go into that are just boring, or they're just empty forests or farmland that are just farmers. And I will mention this. You have in games like the Elder Scrolls, what they tried to do is that they tried to have for instance, an open world thing where you can just go wherever you want to. The downside to that is, unless you have thousands of programmers and designers and storyboard artists and other people involved in creative and programming ends and graphic arts, but you need a huge team to fill out, and give detail and variety and all this immense world, because it is the more you have this open-ended world, the bigger it gets. It gets ridiculously huge after a while. Huge, right? It's huge. I mean, like, you're talking about potentially hundreds of thousands of characters at some point, millions. Can you generate? I mean, how can a single person remember that many characters in a game? Um, in the 100 to 200 range, no, in the hundreds of people that are memorable. Yeah, you could do that. It still takes some work though to have those hundreds stand out from other characters in other games. But you can certainly have all kinds of other folks to fill out the world and make it. So thousands, yes, but all those other characters might not have names. They might have very very basic names. And then of course, really a real focus on a smaller number of characters as far as anything development wise. But yeah, that's the problem with Elder Scrolls is that after a while it starts to become kind of meaningless. You have everything you want, or whatever you don't have is not really that much more valuable or enjoyable to have over what you have already at some point. And you've pretty much seen what you wanted to see, and you've pretty much done what you wanted to do, and everywhere else people aren't really, what else is there to do in that game? And it stinks to have that kind of sentiment and that feeling. I don't. Everybody who plays a video game, even a fantasy video game, I know we're all a little different. But I think there's some trends, and those of us who play fantasy video games that are more imaginative or more a little higher intellectual qualities, and we have many other things we do with our time. We're not just bums, right? Um, Anybody who plays video games for aesthetic merit or sort of thing, we're going to be looking for a lot of things, a lot of other things that a lot of the folks won't be looking for as much, not as much, or they won't appreciate it nearly as much. Okay, so that all being said, you know, like I said, this video is going to be kind of ideas for video games number 3, but I'm going to kind of get into, just share some ideas I've come up with. And there's going to be just, I don't know, a whole slew of them. Like, I don't know. Again, if you use any of these ideas, just, certain ideas, let me know if you're going to use them, please, before you use them, if you do use them. I'm not just going to talk about the premise of this whole story, but, a lot of times, many video game ideas that might seem trite or overdone aren't really that overdone. But you do want to have. It's a very good idea to have a lot of mystery at the beginning of the game. But you don't have to have anime-like characters. You don't have to. It's a good idea to have a character who doesn't know anything about what he's doing, and he has to search for a meaning. Yeah, a character who's been orphaned or who has their parents lost. That's kind of a little bit of a cliche, maybe, but no, there's still a lot of things that can be done with that idea. So this is not really a quest idea, but this is not a plot idea, but this is a kind of a lot of these ideas are kind of related to magical items. For instance, you could have something in your world where creating a world, fantasy world, you could have certain areas, certain little clearings that have these shapes of, rough kind of shapes of mythical beings, fantasy creatures, right? That you can only, it's kind of they're real enough. They seem real enough that you might be able to bring them to life, or they might be able to come to life over these rock images of those beings. But you're not really sure how to bring them to life. There might be like a staff, like say a rock staff, that can bring them to life. But you can only find it. It's hard to find, and this person who has it isn't going to want to give it up easily. Or want to trade for it. One of many. I'm going to try to go through some of these. I won't spend too long on some of these guys. Again, it's not really important to. Basically, in this idea, I have a young man's parents have been either killed or kidnapped by a gentleman who's a duke who's actually killed the old king, and this main character's dad was loyal to the king, but again, the old duke, the new king, is very corrupt, and he's taxing everybody. Sounds like Prince John, right, from Robin Hood. He's taxing them so much that they're losing their houses. A lot of people are poor people are losing all they have, and the stuff's being taken over by the government. Yeah, it's a little bit government. Yeah, right. Okay. Well, on top of that, though, a lot of people wonder how could this happen. The old king was very strong and powerful, and was a good king, and he had all these good troops. This great lot of security. How could a duke infiltrate and take over the kingdom when the old king, King Hardolf, in my case, how could that happen? The main character begins to learn bit by bit that there's some other forces at work behind this duke's rise to power. For instance, demons, that sort of thing, right? So, okay. I might have to split this video into, hopefully I can get a lot of this in here, but these are just some of the first areas. I haven't even, and there's so many different areas that I'm going to be creating with this idea, this game.